So did Jack Nicklaus. And speaking of Jack Nicklaus, Bubba Watson's foot action, we talk about it all the time, but it really does remind me of a man as we take a look at that lead heel coming way off the ground, the heel planting much closer to the target on the way through, and then extending and elevating through impact. But again, at the top of his golf swing, look on the right, that's Jack Nicklaus's feet. And Jack Nicklaus, at 40 years of age, set a record for total driving that was never eclipsed. And the reason I bring that up is because Bubba Watson, with a technique very similar to Jack Nicklaus, well, he's doing the same thing, different metric, same sort of success off of the tee. If we take a look at this particular metric, since they started using stroke gain off the tee in 2004, nobody has led it in more years than Bubba Watson. He's led it 4 times, and nobody, if you take a look at 2012, has picked up more strokes gained off of the tee than Bubba Watson, almost a shot and a half per round in 2012. Of course, we know that he went on to win the Masters there, and as luck would have it, we've got one of, if not the greatest mind in the game of golf instruction with us, Sean Foley. Sean, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Hey, listen, I harp on this all the time, picking up the left heel. I wrote a book about it. I catch a lot of grief. But am I crazy? Because these are arguably the 2 greatest drivers ever, statistically.
Yes.
Okay? And they have this in common. Is it coincidence or is it a commonality?
I mean, I don't really believe in coincidence. I think if you look at what you're seeing here, you talk about the unweighting of their front foot. So obviously Jack's left foot and Bubba's right foot. But if you really think about where that knee would have started versus where it's gone to, in order to make a big turn with the torso and the pelvis, we have to be able to rotate through the tibia, through the shin bone, and through the femur or the thigh bone. So there's this clockwise rotation externally that's happening in here that's allowing this to drop in, which is very safe on my lower back, and as far as my right hip getting up in the air and allowing me to fully get into my right heel. So it is a benefit for distance as well as accuracy, but also you're talking about 2 guys who hit the ball hard for a very long time who had little to no injuries. So when they're allowing all of this versus the opposite, which is to try to coil the upper body against the lower body, I mean, they're basically not moving at all through their lumbar spine. All the rotations being done around their pelvis and all the rotations being done through the ankle, the knee, and the thigh. So that's what makes it so incredibly safe. Now look at how much room they have now to drive. So what happens is when they're slacking all these joints, so these joints are not ramped up like a spring. They're actually the opposite. They're passively loaded. Tissue's getting longer, so that's the stretch. From here, he has this much room to drive this way, to drive into that foot and down into that foot. And the reason they all kind of hit it and fell back was because the force they had going to the target and down into the ground would push back into the body, and that was kind of the look of that. So it wasn't anything they all tried to do
back. That's right.
It wasn't everything they all tried to do on purpose, but it's just a function of that every action has equal opposite reaction.
So here I am, though. I walk down the range. I'm Billy Horschel, if you're watching. I do walk down the range occasionally. Not all the time, but occasionally. And Billy, you're one of them. So many players are resisting. They do not lift this lead heel. And to your point, they're not turning the right leg, the shin bone, or the thigh clockwise. They're keeping it pretty much straight. So why are so many tour players resisting with the lower body?
Well, I think it's dependent, right? So if you have people who have high mobility, they can get into a lot of these positions without having to release that heel, okay? But if you look at it from a gait standpoint, he's in his big toe and he's in his heel. So it's kind of exactly how we walk. So this is probably more natural to human movement. But I think what happened over time is we got so enamored with the club moving up and down on the same line that we started to lock things down to get this elusive look. Whereas I would argue, if you look at a lot of the great ball strikers, the club didn't come down anywhere near to where it went up. So I would say modern-wise now, with force plates and companies like Swing Catalyst that are bringing through these things, you will start to see more of this because we're trying to generate a skating force, a twisting force, and a vertical force. And it's really hard to do that if we're not moving through the feet properly to engage those.
You heard it here. Sean Foley says it's coming back in style. And we're going to have more Sean Foley later on in the show.